What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Make It Happen podcast. I'm super excited for this series we're going to start here. It is going to be a 4-episode series about leadership with Coach TJ Conley. And this first episode is going to be an intro, and we're going to talk about why leadership is important, what leadership is, and then the following 3 episodes are going to be more of a how and actionable instructions where you can go back and listen to each episode individually for different sort of tools, skills, everything that you need to be the best leader you can be. So, Coach TJ, I met him right when I first came on campus, and we've had many, many talks, but I remember one of the first interactions I had with him, I had no idea what leadership is. He came up to me, asked me what do I know about leadership? And I said, well, I don't know, you just work hard. So that's kind of all I had, and it's been an incredible journey to get to this point where we're doing a podcast series, which is super awesome. But I'm super, super grateful that you're here today and that we get to do this. I'm super excited to get this going with you. Share a little bit of your story and kind of how we met and how you got to the point where you're so passionate about leadership.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and to be talking about leadership, and just humbled and honored that you asked me to do this. You talk about all these things you've learned from me with leadership, etc., but I've learned a ton from you as well. It's a coach's job to motivate the athletes, but you've been extremely motivating for me as well, and extremely grateful for that. So, how did I get here? Grew up playing tons of sports. As a little kid, just sports was extremely important to me. Had the opportunities to play varsity football, basketball, baseball in high school, and then got the opportunity to go to University of Idaho on a football scholarship to play quarterback. Things changed quickly. I ended up being the punter, just kind of screwing around before practice one day, kicking the ball, and coaches saw me, okay, quarterback, cool, but let's get you punting the ball, man. And that was really fun too. That wasn't exactly how I envisioned my career going, but luckily those coaches saw that in me, and that steered my direction a little bit different direction I thought it would, but at the end of the day, it got me to where I wanted to go, which was playing in the NFL. Probably wouldn't have made it as quarterback, but was able to make it as a punter, and got to play 6 years in the NFL. It wasn't, the pretty sparkling career that everybody thinks the NFL is. It was a grind. Didn't make the team for the first 2 years, just played preseason games. Finally made the team my 3rd year, played the full season in 2011 with the New York Jets, and then the next 3 years again were just tough. They were a grind. Didn't make the team. Played through preseasons but didn't make the team. But over that career as an athlete, just learned a ton about leadership, learned a ton about the different types of leadership. So many different coaches, incredible coaches from high school to college to the NFL, so many different leaders that I was able to play with and play for, and learned all these different ways to lead and to coach. So once I got done playing football, it really became, what am I going to do with the rest of my life, And after that experience, I most definitely wanted to be a coach and most definitely wanted to be a leader. So it's been a lot of fun. Somehow found my way over here to Eastern, and was able to get into that leadership role in the collegiate setting and get to have a hand in what we're doing here at Eastern, and get to meet guys like you. That first meeting we had, I think it was just a great way for us to get to know each other and start it off, and that was talking about leadership. It was such a cool time. It was a weird time too, but we were all in the field house, right, doing all of our training in the field house at that time with COVID. And we were so far apart, and it was like, how are we going to get these athletes to help each other lead each other? That was a challenge. But with guys like you that wanted be more of a leader, it was a great time. So we kind of got into it right there and then, and we've been building on it ever since. So grateful to be here and to continue to spread knowledge like we did that one day in the field house.
Absolutely. So let's just get right into it. What is leadership?
Yeah, so leadership, to me, like if I was going to break it down to just one word, leadership is influence. Influence from one person on a group of individuals, and it's bringing them together to achieve a common goal. Okay, so it's influence. One person influencing a big group to come together to achieve a common goal. And one thing that I think is really important to think about when it comes to leadership is leadership is a skill, right? We all know that if we're going to get better at catching a ball, get better at running routes, get better at shooting a basketball, get better at ball handling, get better at pass setting or run blocking or whatever it is, you know that all these things in sport are a skill. We know that if we're going to get better at these skills, we got to work at them.
Mm-hmm.
We know that we have to start basic, right? We have to start, like, for instance, my son, my 10, almost 11-year-old son now, we're playing a lot of baseball right now. We're starting to get into a little bit more of the details on how to throw a baseball and how to swing a baseball bat. But we didn't get to this point without starting with these super basic steps of how to throw a ball, right? And eventually we're going to move on to more details when he gets older and gets more developed in his skills. Leadership is the exact same thing. It's a skill. We have to start with the basics. We have to progress before, and there's steps along the way before we can get into the nitty-gritty details of being a good leader. So I'm really excited to teach those different progressions because, so often you hear like a coach is like, hey, I need you to be a leader. I need you to be more vocal out there. I need you to work harder and lead by example. And so often, we all want to be leaders. We want to help our team in any way, but we're not sure how to do it. I'll be more vocal, but how do I get to the point where people are going to listen to me? Yeah, I'm going to work harder and lead by example, but how do I get people to watch? So I'm really excited about talking to you guys about leadership here and building through these progressions because, the experience I had, for instance, like I said, I played at a really small high school. I got to play all these 3 sports. My freshman year in high school, I was competing for the starting quarterback position on our varsity team. And, after the first 3 weeks or so of fall camp, coach found me in the locker room after practice and was like, hey, you're going to be our starting quarterback. And I was just honored, right? And next thing he said is like, this is now your team. You're our quarterback. I'm going to need you to be our leader. And again, just feeling honored, this is amazing, accomplishment and an honor to do. But also as he was walking away, I'm thinking whoa, what? How do I lead this team as this freshman quarterback? How am I going to do that? And I've been trying to lead the best way I know how. How am I going to do that? So over these next 3 episodes, I'm really excited to give you guys the roadmap, to give our listeners the roadmap of how to become a better leader. Not just know that I need to, but know how to do it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And that's all great stuff. And even as I'm just listening to you now, I think probably the next logical thing to talk about is, okay, we know what it is, and that you need this roadmap and its progression, but why else? Why should the listener tune into these next 3 episodes, and why is leadership so important in sports, in life? Just tell me.
Yeah. So why? Why should we be so interested? Why should we listen to these next 3 episodes? Leadership, it motivates that group, right, to achieve that common goal. It develops trust in groups. It's so important in in any successful team, any successful group, is having that leadership. It brings more task and social cohesion within a group. There's tons of research on leadership, and that's one of the things that's become very clear. So not only is good leadership, and more importantly too, I want to make sure people know too that it's not just leader from the top down, right? Like especially with I think a lot of your listeners are going to be part of a team, right? And they're going to have their head coach, or they're going to have their CEO, or whatever it is for that person. There's got to be good leadership within the group too, and that's called peer leadership. And peer leadership is one of the best indicators of cohesion within a group.
Mm-hmm.
And not only like cohesion, like going after the same goal, but there's more social cohesion. So they get along better when there's good peer leadership within a group. There's way more enjoyment. Research is showing there's way more enjoyment when there's good peer leadership within a group. And enjoyment is like at the core of almost everybody's motivation, right? So if you're happy, if you're enjoying what you're doing, you're going to put in more effort. You're going to be more willing to go just that little bit further for the team, for the group. So enjoyment is another huge piece of it. But it's just that trust, that loyalty to each other is really important. And the other really important part that research is showing is that there's more emotional control within groups when there's good peer leadership. So when there's adversity that hits, as there is inevitably going to happen, there's going to be more emotional control. The ups and downs of emotions are going to be more steady when you have good peer leadership. Mm-hmm. So it's extremely important. Like if you want to really help your team, continue to improve your skills of your sport like we talked about. But if you really want to help your team, like if the research is clear, you got to have good peer leadership. Find a way to become a better leader, and you're going to have more success with your teams.
Yeah.
On the field, off the field, and together.
Yeah. Well, and like you just said, we do everything to experience the feelings that we think the things are going to give us, right? Mm-hmm. And so really what you're saying is leadership leads us to those awesome feelings that we ultimately are all searching for deep down in our soul. So what it sounds like is leadership is one of the most important things ever. So let's take a step back and give us just an overview to wrap up this episode. What is this roadmap going to look like these next 3 episodes?
Yeah. So this roadmap, and I got to give huge credit to one of my mentors. His name's Mike Nelson. He's the director of strength conditioning over at Gonzaga University. I got the pleasure of working with him at Gonzaga for a couple of years there. He's also owner of U District PT down in Spokane, where I also was working, and learned so much from him about this roadmap, about how to become a better leader. I knew how important it was, etc., but like this showed me how to do it. And more importantly, one of the other really important parts of leadership is building more leaders. And I saw that from him. He was my leader, right? And it wasn't just how to lead us and motivate us and point us on the right direction. It was how to create better leaders within the group too, and how to help me progress as a leader. So huge credit to Mike. He implements this with Gonzaga athletes and implemented it with our coaching staff at U District and at Gonzaga. And this is the 3 levels of leadership. So the 3 levels of leadership is really like a video game. Okay, so you got your first level, and if you don't pass level 1, just like in a video game, you don't get to go on to level 2. You can't skip ahead to the finer details, just like I can't skip ahead with my young son Braden trying to teach him how to throw a ball and swing a bat. We have to start with the basics, and that's level 1. We got to pass level 1 before we can move on to level 2. And same thing for level 3, right? The tiny little details of teaching my son how to throw a curveball or something, or a changeup, like that's way down the line, right? So same thing with leadership. We're going to have these 3 levels where you got to build this foundation, progress and then finally get to the nitty-gritty details of being a leader. And I love these 3 levels because really it is building this foundation. And really the first 2 levels are like just good humans, right? Like good teammates. Learning and teaching how to be a good teammate, a good human is going to be essential in being that great leader. So yeah, it's all leadership, but really like the first part is just being a great person and great teammate, and then building on top of that so that we can become that great leader. So the 3 levels, just to give you a little sneak peek of these next 3 episodes. Level 1 is synergy, and that is at the base of it, right? Sin is together, and the last part of that word, breaking down the word, is energy, right? So it's bringing the energy together, and at the end of the day, it's relationships. It's having good communication, good social cohesion between groups. Right? If you're going to have good peer leadership, you've got to have cohesion within the group. First level is just building this foundation of synergy, of relationships. Level 2, after we've really built that foundation, we can now start to talk about leading by example. And this is what everybody talks about, right? Like, I lead by example. Well, great, but do you have those relationships? Have you built that foundation first to then allow your example to actually be seen and be understood and be respected and want to be followed, right? So that's level 2. That's leading by example, and we call that sweat. And I love these 3 levels. The first one, synergy, is that S, right? The second one is sweat, another S. And then finally, level 3 is serve. And that's the basis for the type of leadership that I think and research has shown is the most effective form of leadership, and that's servant leadership. So very excited to get into more details with these 3 levels of leadership. We're going to use what I like to call the think, say, do model as we get into these 3 different levels. There's also going to be 3 different pillars to each one of these 3 levels. So we're going to have a total of 9 pillars, and each one of those pillars is going to be based on this think, say, do model, where we're going to really, again, kind of like we did today, motivate and let you know why and make sure you're thinking and believing the right things when it comes to each one of those pillars. So we're going to think and really believe. And then we're going to teach you guys the things to say, the think, the say, what you're going to say to your teammates, what you're going to say to your colleagues to improve your leadership and improve that cohesion within the group. And then lastly, what we're going to do, actionable like actions that we're going to do. We're going to go out and accomplish that are going to help lead groups. So the 3 levels, the 3 pillars of each level, and each level is going to be based on that think, say, do model to give you good, actionable things that you can go out and implement right away to become a better leader.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm so excited for the listeners to see that think, say, do model is genius. And then you wouldn't sit on a stool with 1 leg. You want 3 legs, right, to have a good foundation. So it's absolutely incredible stuff. And like I said, I appreciate you guys tuning in. This is huge. It's going to be a huge little series you do not want to miss out. So you're going to want to get in this level 1. We're about to get it going, and it's going to be exciting stuff for you to really act on it, and that will actually improve the quality of your life. You know, over here at the Make It Happen podcast, I'm not about fluff. We're about getting to things that are actually going to help you become a leader and make it happen in your own life. So I appreciate you guys. Please share this podcast around and let other people know this series is starting. It's going to be super good stuff. I appreciate you guys. Make it happen.